A very good evening to you. How are you doing this day? I'm coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Cheryl Blessing, and this is the Power Talk Show. Thank you for sticking to Y254 TV. And on this show this evening, we want to bring you a very interesting conversation that will possibly change how you perceive things and how you present yourself to the world. Our conversation today is very centered on how your first impressions can make or break your presentation before people. Can it get you opportunities? Can it make you miss out on opportunities? We want to really understand the value of making a very good first impression and the issue with making a bad first impression. Joining me live on set are two guests who are very familiar and have expert opinion on this conversation. So this is not a guest. This is a lady who's been here before, Trophy Kiprono. Karibu tena sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah, and Trophy is a communication specialist.
Yes.
So last time you were giving us gems na leo nataka kuendelea.
Tunaendeleza from where we left.
Yes, thank you. And right next to Trophy, we have Theo Among, who is a TV and a radio producer. Karibu.
Thank you.
So this is Theo's first time, but we believe he'll be coming back because
sure.
Power Talk is a family.
For sure.
So thank you so much. Those are our lovely guests today. And as we're continuing with this conversation on the importance or the value of first impressions, I want to hear from you as well. So you can do that by going to our social media platforms at Y254. That is on all the platforms. You can share a comment, maybe some opinion or an experience that you had that can add value to this conversation. So we will sample those comments as we progress with the conversation. And I think to kickstart, because we all hear about the value, the importance of making a good first impression. But what is a first impression? Like, what is a first impression? Is it the way I walk into a room? Is it the way I speak? What is a first impression? Trophy, could you enlighten us on that?
Well, first impression is basically what I see the first time I meet you. So we have a quote that says, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression. So what I see, like we discussed earlier, I can't see your personality. What I see is what I'm going to think of you. That is why first impression is important.
So it's the perception you get of someone,
Exactly.
the
Yes.
minute, si ati venye amevaa, sijui, it's everything.
Everything.
How you see them, that
Yes.
is the first impression that they make. Now, on that same note, we were just having a conversation prior to starting the show
Yes.
about how these days we really take people at face value before we get to know them. Because as you've said, you can't know someone's personality by looking at them.
Yes.
You can assume their personality. But why, especially for our generation, Theo, why do you think we're very superficial in terms of we take people at face value?
So I think it's actually a very good question that you've asked, because for the youth nowadays, we do not take dressing to some extent too seriously. You utatembea town, you meet someone with Crocs, you know, and they're like, you know, especially the Gen Z generation, they're like, you know, my dress, my choice, you understand? So guys are mostly into fashion, you get. So when in the supermarket you find someone, akona pesa, yes, but the dressing of choice is sometimes too casual. And you, as an older generation person who has experienced some aspect of the older generation, you can easily judge. Naoni mtu anaenda kuspend 35,000 hapo kwa till, but at the end of the day, what we see is what we expect. As I said before, when you see someone, you cannot judge their intellectual capacity, you cannot judge their professionalism, you cannot judge the impact that they're making in whatever field they're in. You judge by what you see. Like, as sad as it is, most people judge a book by the cover.
True.
Yeah? So we should always endeavor to make sure that you look presentable, you look, you know, like fake it till you make it is the best way I can put it. So yeah, I think the youth nowadays, we just try and prioritize, just trying to, you know, just look
presentable.
Yeah, look presentable. Yeah.
And you've said that very eloquently. I like that you've said in our generation particularly, people want the freedom of my dress, my choice. I want to go into the office with a crop top. I want to maybe go to a golfing event and be dressed as maybe in a suit. We do not really focus on the event and the particular situation that we're going into. Sometimes it's venye nimeamka ndo nataka. If it's t-shirt today, Monday at the office I'll be wearing a t-shirt. But Trophy, could you tell us, let's start from the social setting. From the social setting, how important is it? Because especially as women, the My Dress, My Choice came from us women. Because people wanted to dress as they please without being told, inguo ni fupi, ini revealing, hini nini. But what is the value of us presenting ourselves in a social setting in a way that is decent, in a way that you want to be perceived, not leo nimeamua ni crop top regardless of penye naenda. Why what is the value of that?
Allow me to start by quoting someone called Coco Chanel, one of the famous stylists out there. She said, always dress as if you're going to bump into your ex or your worst enemy, because you don't know who you're going to meet on a day-to-day basis. For example, you didn't know you're meeting today. We didn't know you're going to meet today. Always dress like the person you're going to bump into is a potential investor, is a potential boss, whatever it is. So people are taking the My Dress, My Choice a tad too far. And when it comes to perception, perception matters in visibility. So I will judge you based on what I see, and that is because of something we call cognitive bias. So if you dress in a way that doesn't command respect, that person will not respect you. And you can't complain really, because that is the perception they have. You remember back in the day, mtu anavaa trouser, ameharibika. So it comes, it changes, you know, nowadays it's something shorter and shorter, and it changes with time. But always dress how you want to be addressed. That's how I'm going to summarize it.
I love that. And first of all, I love Coco Chanel.
Yes.
So I agree completely with her teachings, because sometimes we want to be addressed as a classy lady, but you've walked in looking very loose, or what you're wearing does not present what you want to be addressed as. And sometimes you can be intelligent, but because of how you've come into the room, they'll say, huyu ana maoni. They will dismiss you.
Very true.
Yeah. And you see, particularly for the younger generation, I think the older generation used to have that. There was the cultural aspect as well as maybe the discipline that was there in society. Now we have social media. Recently there was this Met Gala of all the fashionistas and everyone. So people will look at that and say, okay, this one celebrity came in looking like this, and they want to apply it. But do we look at the cultural difference? Theo, do you think we should focus on the cultural difference, or is it a global village as technology has made it?
I think for me, fashion has just has made people's creativity just run wild. You understand?
Yeah.
Like as you talked about the Met Gala, the two celebrities who actually stood out for me because of the outfits, I cannot really put a name to it because I was just looking at it at face value. So there's this lady who came in a towel.
Yeah.
She had wrapped on a towel. You know, the top, the hair, and also her body was wrapped in a white towel. So in my mind, before I flipped to the next photo, I was like, what is she trying to put across? Is it fashion? I'm like, wearing a towel to an event.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, she just said, you know, let me just wear a towel and, you know. And then there's also another lady who wore a dress that was made of sand. She was so stiff that she had to be carried up the steps.
Yeah.
Is she the cat lady? There's a famous cat lady. Doja
Cat.
That was the one in the towel.
Doja Cat was on in the towel now.
Yeah.
You understand? So, just looking at the two outfits that were there. The lady, even with the sand outfit, now she couldn't even be, you know. So in my mind, I'm wondering: is it fashion? Is it cloud chasing? Is it personality? You know, like before, way back before, even in terms of music and everything, we used to have, you know, alter egos. Yeah. So you find Beyonce had Sasha, Eminem had Slim Shady. If you are trying to bring out two different personalities, the best way to go about it is through the alter egos. But if you're trying to pull it with that one same personality, I think even some time back, there's this lady again who went for these events with a whole outfit made of raw meat.
Yeah.
Sasa upatani na paka ilikuja tu kwa hiyo event tu ile tu bahati mbaya imeingia kwa hall. Si ni hivyo sasa tunakutafutia maleso juu outfit ilienda, you get.
Yeah.
So I think fashion has really made a big impact in terms of how our dressing is influenced, and with that I think it's a global matter. It's not cultural. Nowadays we only wear our cultural outfits to rorashios, to traditional weddings, to cultural events. We have, how did we associate, like when two people start dating, tunauliza tunashona vitenge lini, like we have associated it with only traditional events.
Yeah.
But funny enough, if a woman comes to the office dressed in a beautiful traditional outfit, everyone will be like, you're looking so amazing.
Yeah.
But to what extent are we pushing that love for the cultural wear?
Because we've adapted the Western culture and left behind our African culture, which is a problem, because when you even look at, sometimes it's even the climate. People in LA, it's warmer. So it makes sense that they'd be walking around in shorts and nini. But you're in Nairobi, it's raining, there is El Nino. But people don't even consider that. But first impressions extend beyond the physical. Now we have phones. I can perceive you on through your social media platforms. I can go on Instagram and really perceive someone. Trophy, do you think our presentation on social media is also important? Because now when we get into, especially the workplace, sometimes people ask for your social platforms. They want to know, who are you on X? Who are you on Instagram, Facebook? Is that also an aspect that we should factor in regards to the impression that we want to create?
Absolutely. And that is because of the branding part. Branding is all about identity and trust. People do business with you because they trust you. So the image that I see out there, I'm going to perceive that is you. And you won't fault me, because how are you going to meet? I mean, what you put out there is what I believe to be you. And we have something we call executive presence. Now, executive presence is a combination of three things: gravitas, communication, appearance. Gravitas is just a fancy word for how you act. Unaona? So I'll see how you act kwa mtandao, and we'll be like, this girl she's cloud chasing, she's a socialite, she's 1, 2, 3. And then there's the communication part, how are you communicating, are you carrying one to here and there? And then there's the part of no appearance. And like he said, it is very true. Looks matter. Like, we judge a book by its cover. We always say, apana, we don't judge a book by its cover. We do.
Yeah.
We do business. Like, I'll look at you and be like, I'm going to toroka na pesa yangu. So you have to really convince me, like, physically first. And what you mentioned earlier about LA climate and everything is very true, but I think the reason why we Kenyans do that, and Africans in general, is what we talked about, the halo effect. We think everything Western is to be adopted. It is why when you go to America, you come back with an American accent. When you go to India, you don't come back with an Indian accent. How? Because you perceive theirs is better than ours. So it's all a matter of a perception.
Yeah. Now, maybe we should focus on the white man and their branding. Because honestly, they have made us believe that they are superior. And there are people who genuinely believe that. They're like, hey, ulipitia maju. Nivyo. Like, regardless of what you were doing there, or the fact that you have, even
do you know
the
that there are some NGOs that they are starting, it's a Kenyan thing, but they go and hire Karando Mzungu, and then they put him there because it draws people, and then people think it's credible, it's reliable. Like, that's the unfortunate part of cognitive bias. Yeah, and we always think white men are everything.
Yeah, and which is wrong, because we've seen that even Africans are racist, such that you'll go into a restaurant, you're spending more than the Wazungu, but they will rush there and serve them better than they're serving you.
Yes, that's true.
But now you've mentioned, you talked about three aspects. You've talked about the way you speak, the way you dress, and also your aura and everything. We focused on the looks. What if looks zangu hazimatch na kenye natoa kwa mdomo yangu? What if I've walked in and I'm dressed so beautifully, but when I speak I'm very vulgar? Theo, if you were meeting someone, let's say in a social setting, who is dressed so beautifully, but then when they speak, would that leave or taint the impression that you got when you first saw them?
Definitely. Mi nitakuambia tu straight up, look the part. Straight up. Because you can, it goes tandem. Like, it's a whole sequence. Yeah? If you're dressed well, that gives me an opportunity to engage you further, which takes me to step 2, to know what you have, your intellectual capacity, content that you have and things like that. Then from there now we proceed now to partnership, sealing the deal and things like that. But if you look the part and then I'm like, wow, this, you know, we might have landed on something here. And then ufungwe mdomo and it's, you know, it ends there. So for me, I feel like it's a continuous process that, you know, it is a sequential sequence of, it's a sequential process from, you know, in law, we have offer, acceptance, and then consideration. Yeah? Offer is now when you decide, you know what, for example, I want to sell a car. So when I decide, you know what, I'm putting it up on Jumia or on OLX or whichever platform, that is the offer. And then now, when someone has actually decided, you know what, I'm going to engage you, you understand? That is offer. And then that is acceptance now. When someone has decided, you know what, let me call you. That is acceptance. And then now consideration is now the third step where now someone has decided, let me make a down payment, you know, let's do a sale agreement. Yeah. So it is always a sequential order of things. Yeah. So you look the part, well and good. Now it gives me the freedom and the pleasure to engage you further. So ukichoma at step 2, we will not get to the end of our arrangement. Yeah. So
it's something that has to be sequential. You have to follow through. Si ati umevaa tu vizuri lakini hauna content. Because most people will do that, Trophy. We have seen that people will come in dressed so beautifully and you ask them to speak in front of a crowd and they don't have anything important to say.
Actually, someone who's dressed well and doesn't have content is far worse off, to me, than someone who's not dressed the part but has content. Because the person who does not have, the person who's not dressed well but sort of makes it to step 2 has a higher chance of getting to step 3. You understand?
Yeah.
So you can necessarily wing it for step 1 in terms of appearance, but then when you open your mouth, guys are like, wait, we almost wrote this guy off. So they might give you some bit of leniency. This is my own perspective, yeah? I know maybe from the specialist perspective it might be different.
Actually, you're very right.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, he's actually saying something that is very true. Now, we have a term for that. In our public speaking classes, we start with executive presence. The word executive, something that commands respect. That's why you said gravitas, how you act. Communication, how you speak. Appearance, how you look. So you can actually look the part, but you don't know how to communicate. You speak and you're offensive in your speech. You don't know how to listen without being defensive. You don't know how to disagree without calling people names. That is communication tenor. Communication is not really at what is coming out of your mouth. Are you offensive in your speech? Then we come now to how you act. Do you come on time? Ama you keep people waiting? Do you have emotional intelligence? You know, how do you act under pressure? So it's a combination of 3 things. You cannot separate those 3 pillars. What he said is actually true. Executive presence.
It's all tied together. Now, Nazo, I was complimenting you on your outfits before.
Thank you.
And you told me one thing that stuck with me. You said it's your brand. It's how you identify. So that consistently, because every time I've seen Trophy, she looks absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
And I was just talking to her about it. And you've curated your wardrobe and your closet to suit a certain style. So how much do we need to invest into our appearance and our act and the presentation that we make before people? How much do we need to invest into that?
I would say invest as much as you would, because that is the door. Like that one can open opportunity, can open doors for you, or they can close. Because unfortunately, we judge the book by its cover. And one thing about dressing, and thank you for the compliment. One thing about dressing, it's not about dressing expensive. It's not really about dressing in expensive clothes. It's finding your authentic style. Dressing your body. Just because it looks good on someone doesn't mean it's going to look good on you. Also, dressing for the organization. Is it casual? Is it like dress also for the organization? And also let your personality come out. You know, like you can see someone pulling something and then you try it and it doesn't come out like that. You know, we have a term for that. And you can't explain it. It's because it's not you. So dress in a way that it reflects your personality, which is very important. Otherwise, you'll always be missing out on opportunities, because guys will be like, which is wrong, because sometimes they can make mistakes. Like they've shut someone out. But now we just see the cover of the book and we're like, no.
I'm not going to read it. Because most people tend to assume you have to invest. Like, I have to go to Mr. Price or go to these
No.
big brands and buy something so expensive. And it's just about finding your style and
Yes.
your identity. Now, on that note, Theo, for the gentlemen, I know sometimes gents really find it hard to find their style because there's nothing particular out there that can give you pointers on what to do, what not to do. But what would you advise a guy about making a first impression? How should he dress? How should he carry himself? Utter the smell. You know, sometimes I've been in matatus where ni asubuhi. You're wondering, kwani umetoka wapi? So what can you tell the gents about that? Because you can look the part, you can speak so eloquently, but unanuka jasho.
Ama kutoga.
Hey, tubu tuambie, wanaume wafanye nini?
So basically, I think ile shida na wanaume that I have with most men, hatujiheshimu saa zingine. Yeah? So in the extent that wanaume wengi wanakuanga freestyle. Not all, but we feel like being freestyle is macho. Unajua?
Yeah.
And then this male chauvinistic tendencies. Mwanaume haezi beba umbrella, you know. Uwezi tembea umbrella, uwezi beba umbrella town, aje sasa. Unajua? Gangster points. Unanyesha mwanaume ni kunyeshewa ama kusimama chini ya flyover. Unaona? Uko tu hapo na wasa delivery
umevaa suti.
Umevaa suti uko hapo chini ya flyover na wajamaa wa debonair. Jamaa anapeleka pizza, wewe unaenda nyumbani lakini uko tu hapo harufu inakumaliza. So the problem that most Kenyan men face is male chauvinism. Unaambia mtu atibai dio, wani mimi ni mama ninunue dio. You understand? But once we come to realize that some of these things are just hygiene, just common decency, you understand? It takes nothing away from you. You understand? So and then you find that now you do some of these things to even impress the ladies now, to show them how you are hardcore, how you are built tough and different. And then you end up actually kuchoma. You understand? So you end up chomaing the photo instead of you end up chomaing the photo instead of building your own credibility points and things like that. So I think wanaume, we should stop, especially the youth now, we should stop thinking in terms of from a group mentality.
Yeah.
Jitambue kama wewe. Identify yourself. Unasema unajua ni aje? Mimi ni Theo na sitanyuka jasho asubuhi. You understand? Mimi ni Theo na sitanyeshewa nikienda job. Carry that umbrella. Mimi ni Theo, I sweat a lot, nitabeba dio kwa bag. You understand? It doesn't have to be anything that you feel that it's feminine. Just carry a nice bag, put your things inside. At the end of the day, you are selling you.
Yeah. It's not us as Kenyan
yes,
men.
It's not us as Kenyan men.
Because I've even had this phrase that mwanamume ni kukaraf. And I'm wondering, who said? Because have you consulted the ladies? The ladies don't even like that. Because I've had that phrase so many times, and I think I've also I've had the experience, some friends have had the experience where some people will just let loose. And a trophy, hygiene is very important. It adds value to the first impression, right? So what should the gentleman do? Just the small things to ensure that their hygiene is on point without maybe feeling like they're doing way too much.
Just the basics. Shower. Just wear some deodorant. That's it. Like, no one is asking you for too much. Brush your teeth. Alafu, I would tell them to actually watch a video by Steve Harvey. He said, you don't need a whole wardrobe. Just have 3 suits. Alafu cheza na shati. So unakuwa na moja in black, dark blue, and I think he said grey. Alafu kuwa na mashati mingi. Because you can always mix and match.
Yeah.
Unaona, mix and match. Alafu, just take that initiative, like you said. Don't have this group mentality. And then, I don't know which men and how that they don't take care of their appearance, because nowadays you see on TikTok, guys are even having mafuta for their beard. Guys have a skincare routine until they make you feel masculine and you're a woman. Because nowadays men are into mpaka cover those 2 eye patches before they sleep.
Even men nowadays go for mani-padis.
Yeah.
That is even the basic. Nowadays they do steaming of their beards and face and all that. So they're putting effort into it. But like he said, that group mentality, you Kenyan men, no, just basic, just do basic.
Yeah.
Basic too.
Because I totally agree with you guys, because just the bare minimum will make such a huge difference. Ukiwa tu na nguo safi na umeoga na umebrush meno, do you know that already sets you apart from others? Because there's so many others who'll probably wake up at nimechelewa, wacha niende hivyo. You know, but you've forgotten that you umesweat usiku.
Yo.
You have all these things. So on that note, let me just take a short break. And I hope you're continuing to go on our social media platforms at Y254. When we come back, we're going to sample your comments. And we'll get into the impact that the first impression makes on the opportunities and how we can even amend a bad first impression. So stick to Y254 TV. My name is Cheryl Blessing and this is the Power Talk Show.